It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to another live episode of the Mike Prince Show right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Of course, it is our daily venture. Try to bring you some news that you can use. This is the first live show of 2021. I guess we can still send out salutations and say Happy New Year to you. We have an interesting show, one guest, but a very inspirational and well-informed guest. We'll discuss some baseball. Our guest will be Michael Coker of College Black Nines. Some interesting things took place with the MLB and the Negro League. We'll discuss a little bit about that. Of course, we'll throw in some college baseball and looking forward to 2021 spring editions, even though we're still another few months off from having Bethune and Fam, but we can talk about all of it. We also want to remind you that our simulated baseball season kicked off on yesterday. We'll be giving you those updates throughout the course. I'll explain that if I can a little bit later when we get our guests. We want to thank our sponsors on this evening. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Reflections Paint and Body Shop, Prairie View Athletic Club, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Helping Hands Lawn Service, Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill, Attorney Lee Van Richardson, and Diva Skin Conditions. And without further delay, we're going to jump right into this evening's episode. As we look at the playoff settings, y'all remember Jim Moore, playoffs? The Steelers lose to the Browns on today, but there's no panic. Kadaro Hodge had a couple of catches for 25 yards. It was good to see him back. That team was struck by the virus, so just happy to see those guys back in functionality. The Cowboys are done. Not sure what the Washington football program is doing at this point. I try not to do too many multitask because I can easily get thrown off. But a lot going on. Basketball, Panthers on the women's side of things fell short to Southern on Saturday. Men, of course, did not play due to the COVID outbreak in the Southern camp on the men's side of things. Texas Southern struck. And, oh, by the way, in case you didn't hear, the Grambling State Tigers were victorious over Coach Mo Williams' debut as the coach from Alabama State. Well, actually, everything works out accordingly. We got a couple of sound bites we'll have for you to hear and enjoy on our Monday morning episode from Coach Dante Jackson of Grambling State University. So the mood switches over to Monday night when Prairie View and Alcorn, still scheduled, last we checked, to take place. And by the way, you can listen to that game live, both men and women, here through the network on our Listen Live line, 857-777-0000. That's a real number. It works. Dial in, listen to the men and women basketball game by way of syndication through WPRL from Alcorn State University and Tall Man Radio, Mr. Charles Edmond. So as I was stating, a lot of trips in the air with the basketball start off. And a lot of people are contemplating and wondering, should we even continue to move forward? And I know no one asked me. I don't really matter as much. But I was thinking, and I shared it with a couple people, said, it sounds like a pretty good idea. But once again, I'm just a guy with a microphone that talks about sports and world events. But anyway, I was thinking with the break from Thanksgiving and the Christmas break that the college campuses are experiencing right now, that it would have been a good idea to have somewhat of a simulated form of a bubble and get at least first half of your conference games off in somewhat almost like a round robin as they do for volleyball. Play a couple of nights a week and you could wrap up a lot of games that way, but to no avail. And it's always something that you could look for in the future. And the reason I was suggesting that is simply because we know that sooner or later there will be an outbreak. How severe that outbreak will be, who knows? But just as we saw right off the ground, Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, Southern University, all have been affected. And from my understanding, the Grambling Alabama A&M men's basketball game has been postponed. And that's another thing that's been a big play on word. Postponed or canceled. Does it really matter? If you're postponed or canceled, the game's not happening. Now, I know to those who are paying attention to the fine details, and we know what they say about that, the only one interested in the fine details are the devil. But game's not getting off the ground. And must I not omit the FBS football playoffs this weekend? Oh, my God. Ohio took Clemson to the woodshed. And I was one to believe that Clemson would not have had a problem handling Ohio State. Boy, was I wrong, and a whole lot of other people. So I have already eaten my crow. I asked for some hot sauce on my Twitter feed at the Mike Prince Show. And I've humbly submitted my apologies to Ohio State. Texas A&M, big win over North Carolina. Now, a lot of Aggie fans are saying, see, we know you're not on the same level as yet. You're in that area as far as being connected to the conferences. And I want you to hear me real good, Aggie fan. This is not casting shade on you. You have not put in a consistent body of work to warrant being in that conversation of an Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, or Ohio State. If you continue on the trend upward that you're on under Jimbo Fisher, you will make up for that lost ground. But you can't have one good year and expect to leapfrog everyone. Cincinnati, we're crying the same thing, but Georgia, show them, yes, you had a wonderful season, no doubt about that, a magical season, but you're not quite ready for prime time just yet. Coastal found that out. It's good stories. They're good conversational pieces. But let's be honest, people, this is a business. And if the business is not flowing structurally, they will address it. And speaking of addressing, I am going to have to take me a break. I'm going to try to get Mr. Coker lined up on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline where we can talk a little baseball and see what we got going on. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us in our 2021 Sunday Night Live debut show. But we will take a break, and we'll be right back with more of the Mike Prince Show Live. You're listening on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Keep it right where you got it. And I promise you, without any hesitation, that we'll be right back. Reflections Paint and Auto Body Shop, located in Waller, Texas, is ready to restore the beauty of your automobile. Whether it's a small dent or major accident. If your vehicle needs auto body repair, check out Reflections Paint and Body Shop. All repairs are completed by highly skilled and trained professionals. They are located at 2910 Waller Street in Waller, Texas. And just in case you can't get it in to them, they provide towing services. Call them today, 936-931-5780. That number again, 936-931-5780. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. Locations in Rosenberg, Missouri City, Katy, College Station, Bryan, Brenham, and Waller, Texas. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org.
Why should we respect our elders, you may ask? It has been common courtesy for decades to honor and respect those that came before you. These seniors have experienced so much life and endured many challenges that they can be beneficial to generations to come. Younger individuals need to learn the significance of spending time with elders and know ageism is an unfortunate trait to have. Ageism is the inclination to think of older people as debilitated and unworthy of attention. This may be a trait growing in the next group of peers, but knowing the wisdom behind all of these elder stories will help them gain knowledge in the future. It's important not only to be compassionate and polite to your elders, but simply show society that ageism is dead. This message was brought to you by FormontGrandSeniorLiving.com, Lauren Gavin, and Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Drivers and bicyclists both have the right to be on the road and travel safely. And when we're on the road together, safety is a shared responsibility. State law requires drivers to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance when passing bicyclists. And bicyclists should always ride with the direction of traffic and follow all traffic signals. It's safer. It's courteous. It's the law. A message from the Regional Planning Commission Pedestrian and Bicycle Program.
Prairie View Athletic Club has been proudly supporting the Prairie View Athletic Department since 1986. The Prairie View Athletic Club believes in the rich traditions of Prairie View Athletics and all that it has to offer. For more information and details on how to become a member of the Prairie View Athletic Club, call 936-857-5817. A proud supporter of Prairie View Athletics, the Prairie View Athletic Club in Prairie View, Texas. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue on with our Sunday Night Live edition of the Mike Prince Show. Remind you that we come to you each and every day right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check us out. And, of course, we go live for 1 hour right here on Sunday evenings. Our next guest will come to us from Black College Nines baseball. This man is no stranger to the world of college baseball, to the credit of Negro League baseball impact on the world. I'm not just going to say on the nation, but on the world. And our guest on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline this evening is none other than Brother Michael Coker. How you doing this evening, sir?
All righty. How about yourself?
Well, I'm doing absolutely fine. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Same to you.
Okay. A lot has gone on. Of course, a lot of people getting excited about spring football and basketball. But for those of us who really know and care, we're right around the corner from the start of another baseball season, projected.
Yes, we are. We're coming off of the this horrible thing, the pandemic. And even though there's another strand out there, we're going to get baseball in. We're going to return to baseball, and that would be trying to get back to a normal life. If you remember, the 2020 season was shut down after about 15 games in March, and it really put a damper on just collegiate sports, especially baseball, because it happened during a time when baseball was just getting started. 15 games into the season, teams were starting to fill themselves out. Teams were starting to get ranked. Pitching was coming around. Hitting was coming around. And then all of a sudden, there was no baseball. So it's looking promising. We're just, the third day of the new year. So as we advance to closer to a starting date, which these teams have scheduled, we're going to have some baseball.
Absolutely. And a lot has happened since March in that 15-game stand. Of course, me, with the emphasis on all HBCU, but I am in SWAC country, lost a very integral part in the likes of a Carrick Jackson, who had done a phenomenal job at Southern University in a short time span, I might add. He has moved on to higher heights and deeper depths with the MLB, but that's going to be a pretty big void to fill, not only just for Southern University, but for SWAC baseball as a whole. How do you see that?
Well, you got a good young and up and coming coach in Chris Crenshaw. So Chris would have gotten a chance somewhere within the SWAC. It's a good place that, he was in a good place at the right time at Southern. But there's a story to tell behind that. Carrick Jackson did not really want to leave Southern. And so Carrick asked for he didn't ask for a raise because he thought he was being treated fairly salary wise by Southern. But he asked for them to fund baseball, to add more funding, to give it a bigger budget so he could have more to work with. And the school was not willing to. So Carey's hand was forced. I mean, he had done some great things in the past. He was big with Major League Baseball scouting. I mean, he scouted in 5 to 6 different states and had made a name for himself as a Major League scout. So once he realized that Southern was not going to help trying to advance the program, the Major League Baseball made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And so he moved on. He's doing what he's done in the past, but he's doing it at a level as to where he really could help HBCU baseball and get more kids drafted.
Absolutely, and that's why I said it was kind of a catch-22, a love me, hate me type situation. And to know the backstory, as we were aware of, a lot of people think it was a take the money and run situation, but still waters do run deep. Yeah,
and what's he really looked out for the program. If you remember, Southern went to the NCAA regionals a few years ago. After his first year, he was 9-33, and then he had that big turnaround year. And he went and he almost upset the number 5 ranked team in the nation in the regionals. And he had some promising things coming in as far as recruiting. He just could not get the backing from Southern. The athletic department and administration did not. And it's something that happens a lot at HBCU baseball. It's like you cut when they want to cut budgets, baseball. When you want to do things, baseball. When you want to hurt a program, baseball. And it seems like HBCU baseball just set up for football and band. And that's being truthful about it. So his hand was forced, and he tried to do as much as he could to save his not HBCU baseball, but to save his program and to get it funded. But his hand was forced, and I commend him for it. I commend him because at least he came in and he turned that program around. He gave that program a much needed injection back to the national level, because Southern is HBCU's best program under Roger Cador. I mean, Roger had over 900 some odd wins in a 25-year period. No doubt. Southern, when you looked at HBCU baseball, you look at Southern.
Absolutely. We're on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline with Brother Michael Coker. I always say I never met a Mike that I didn't like. And we're talking some baseball here, in particular that of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And if we got time and time permits, if we could, Mike, we can get your insights and expertise of the 10 teams that currently make up this 21 season. With the insight, I'm really excited about the addition of Bethune and FAM, because I think it's going to upgrade. I know they will upgrade the profile of the baseball at I almost said Prairie View, but at the SWAC level. But when we look at this overall, and you talked about the budgets, and I play with numbers every now and then because that's what show hosts do, right? We play with numbers and come up with creative content that hopefully people would appreciate, at least for the time that they hear it. If we were to warrant out a 10% budget of whatever the overall budget is at any program, no matter how much they're funding, if they did 10% for baseball, you could see a almost overnight change in your baseball program on competition levels. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree with you. That's huge. A 10% increase, that is huge. You know what that does for scholarships? You know what that does for expenses and equipment? A 10% increase?
Well, not the 10% increase, but even 10% of the overall budget.
That's just it would still be a plus.
Yes, sir. Yes,
because
sir.
it's putting that program in a better direction than what they're used to.
No doubt about it. And I think, and I heard you say that emphasis is put on football and band. I would throw basketball in there, even though basketball, in my opinion, carries its own weight with the funding that they can generate from the NCAA. But if you ever want to be an AD on the rise to make a statement, and I don't care what level you're on, and we're talking, of course, HBCU athletics right now, but if you want to make an impact, invest in baseball, because that's why the big boys are fighting so hard right now to get to 22 scholarships, because they see that it's too even right now with the 11.7, and they want to create degrees of separation as the case for Power 5 football programs.
Well, the one thing that I think that the SWAC is headed that way, with the addition of the two Florida schools, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, it does nothing but elevate the program and the conference. And if in that region, those SWAC schools are constantly taking on the SEC, and you'll find that throughout the last 4 or 5 years, there's been some major upsets.
Oh yes.
And so this would be an added when you have those two schools. Bethune-Cookman is a former powerhouse, and they're on the verge of getting back there. Jamie Schultz, the head coach for Florida A&M, is a former coach from Florida State. So he's building the program. He's gone to the regional twice in the last 5 years. So he's building that program. Like I said earlier, we just have to get the athletic department and the administration on board. And then next thing you know, and I think it's going to happen in the SWAC, because I think the SWAC has actually seen how it could benefit when they added those two teams and what it is that they need to do to draw revenue to advance those programs.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's unfortunate what happened with Carrot Jackson, but I do see it within the next 2 to 3 years. I do see the SWAC making a major shift and making major noise at the national level.
Well, hopefully
when it comes to baseball,
it will make enough noise to where we can get 2 bids coming out the conference. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Well, yeah. The thing is, you're going to get your conference champions. There's no way around that. You're going to get the 2 HBCU conference champions. But if we can find one team that wins, and I think that, there are a couple teams in the SWAC that I think that can do it. And what the thing is you have to have that RPI rating, that rating percentage index. If at the end of the season, if you have that high index, you're going to get a bid. So there's a couple teams that I think can move that direction. Let's say, in the SWAC, Alabama State is a stout team. Mm-hmm. They got everybody returning. They are our national champions. But you also have Jackson State, you also have Grambling, and then you have 2 teams that are up and coming, Alcorn State and Prairie View.
Okay.
If we can get, Omar Johnson, he has won out of the last 13 years, he has won 30 ball games or more. If Omar can have a serious breakout season with Alabama State and Grambling, we could actually see two teams coming from the SWAC.
No
But they got to
doubt.
have that high index. And the one thing is what's holding them back is their schedule. They're scheduling. It's a tradition to schedule an NAIA program, and that kind of hurts. That kind of brings your rating down. But if they go out there and they beat those Power Five conferences, and then it elevates it. So, and we're on that verge because, like I said, the SWAC, they're constantly playing those SEC teams, and they do upset them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're on the line right now with Michael Coker of Black College Nines on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline. You made mention of Jackson State. Jackson State beats the cover off the ball, but they always fade out in the playoff, or what we should say tournament regional run, and the pitching just fades. And that's the case for most pitching on your mid-major levels. There's never too much pitching to have. But you kind of gave a premature insight on the teams that you thought were going to do well. If you don't mind, sir, if you would kind of break through the teams or break down the teams and give us why you're seeing and how you're seeing what you're seeing.
Well, Alabama State is returning everybody. They were our national champions. They had pitching that, and that's what carries you. You have to have your number one, number two, number three starters go the distance for your weekend starters and then your midweek starters. Alabama State is returning everyone. Everybody's coming back. So, and they are primed because not only that everybody's returning, they also have a good incoming freshman class, and they've got some stout transfers that are coming in as well. And then there's Jackson State. Omar puts a team out there that can hit. Bottom line, there's no way around it. He puts a team out there that can hit a ton. Pitching can be suspect at times, but for a 30-win ball club, it's just a matter of time before they have a serious breakout season in two. And then you have, Grambling. Grambling sometimes can be its own worst enemies. And I say that because they go into a lot of games and they go into the games ahead, and then those later innings, they find themselves behind. If they could find a way to, get pitching to hold up, especially in relief, Grambling would be a team to reckon with. And then there's my favorite team of the SWAC. And I really like what Michael Richardson does at Texas Southern. Texas Southern is a second-half ball club. They will struggle at the beginning of the season. But towards the middle and the end, they pick it up. He makes the adjustments. They start winning, and they start making noise. Texas Southern has a problem right now. They don't have a home field to play on. If that school would ever wake up and get them a home field on their campus, Jackson State, I keep saying Jackson State, I'm sorry.
Maybe that's who you picking to win the SWAC this year, Jackson State, huh?
Well, I see between them and Alabama State. I do, I really do. But I also see Texas Southern as a team to reckon with because I know what Michael Robertson does in the past. He really comes on. So, and if they can ever get a home field on their own campus, look out.
Well, the thing about the home field deal is almost like currently they have a good situation with McGregor Park as far as the amenities and the accessibility to it, but there's no place like home. There's somewhat in a landlocked situation as far as the availability of land that the campus is currently surrounded by. And with the political thickness in that particular area, it's a ways off before they can actually talk about doing a home baseball / softball facility. But I do agree for what they've done, and he and Coach Barker on the softball side, the consistency that they have with their programs is phenomenal, and it would really be a nightmare if they actually have facilities on their campus. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and you got to remember, under Roger Cador, he was faced with the same situation, but he found a way to make it work. And they built a nice stadium.
Well, hopefully that's in the very near future for Texas Southern. Now, you struck up my curiosity when you said that Prairie View was one of your sleeper teams. If you don't mind, go into that one.
Prairie View it has shown major life last season. Prairie View had some. They got this Gonzalez kid that came from. Rodriguez kid, and they made some adjustments in their pitching. And I mean, they lost some really tough games to some ranked teams in the early part of the season, but they played good ball. They're another team where they're bringing the entire team back. I think what they saw in those 15 games, I think what's going to happen is it's going to carry over. I think that they're more prepared now. Like I said, the 15 games that really slowed the team down, it slowed not just the team, but the entire league and just college baseball in general. I think the schools that are going to benefit from this are HBCUs. And I think it was a learning curve for Prairie View A&M because they actually had a chance to see exactly what changes they were needed. And then if you look at Coach Riggins, I think that he is overdue. I think he's finally getting what he really needs. I think he's got the recruits in, not just the recruits, but I also think that he's got some big-time freshmen coming in, and I think he's going to make some noise. I think that because they did good in the 2019 tournament, in the conference tournament, and it carried over to the 2020 season. But like I said, the the coronavirus disease cut a lot of things short. And I'm looking for Riggins to really put together a good pitching staff because he's got some arms. He's got a couple guys that can throw 92 plus. So, and that's what you need at the collegiate level. You got to remember, the NCAA baseball is nothing but a version of the minor leagues.
No doubt. Now, it's ironic that you would say that because the Panthers are actually in the midstream of a new pitching coach. I believe the old pitching coach had went on to other ventures. And so it's a matter of time to see how they can put it all together. And one thing about it, time does not sit still for any man nor woman, and they'll get a chance to put all that to the test very, very soon. We're on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline with Michael Coker of Black College Nines. Now, when we talk about the East, I know you say you love Jackson State and Alabama State. Who do you like coming out of the West as far as the SWAC is concerned?
Well, you think about it, it's kind of hard for me to say. It really is. I mean, it really is hard for me to say because I'm still stuck with just those three schools. And don't get me wrong on this, but it's the dominant teams, and like I said, Texas Southern, they're in the West, and I'm going to stick with Michael Robertson because I know what he's going to do. Michael Robertson is the type of coach as to where if they played 100 games, he would go 25-25 the first half of the season, but he'd go 50-0 the second half.
Yes, sir.
And that's him. But you still can't leave out Grambling. And I like Texas Southern. Chris Crenshaw, the first-year coach for Southern, he got a learning curve. He's just got thrown into the position, so it's going to be a learning curve for him. So if I'm going to say anything for the West, I'm going to go with Grambling. I'm going to go with Texas Southern.
Okay.
And those are my choices. I really like Grambling. I know what Cooper's doing. I know Cooper is – sometimes he makes me feel like he's still on the field, but then that's a coach.
I understand. Now, when you talk about this learning curve for Crenshaw, what do you think is a realistic time frame to extend that grace and mercy, if you allow me to put that terminology in, until you start expecting fruits of his labor?
Well, you got to give him a 2 or 3 year time frame. You have to allow him to build his program. You have to allow him to get his recruits in. You have to allow him to sell his product. And again, the kids have to buy into it. And one of the things that he's got to establish is how he's going to recruit and how he's going to get those kids to come in and where he's going to get them from. There's a hotbed of talent in Texas, Florida, throughout the South. He's got to establish himself as a good recruiter, and he just got thrown into the position. I mean, it's even though he was at the program, but it's a different story when you're taking over versus, being hired to take over. Mm-hmm. So, you have to give him that respect in that window. I'm saying 2 to 3 years. He could do it in more. I mean, Garrett Jackson did it his second year. His first year, he was 9. He only had 9 wins, but he had that breakout year after he made some adjustments. But he did some things that was unheard of. His best hitter was in the 9th spot, and everybody across the nation questioned him, and he showed them why.
Right. Now, when you talk about, of course, Garrett Jackson was hired, and Crenshaw was promoted. So in 2 different scenarios, do you give them the same window for exercising and growing into their position? And let's give an example. Say at the 3-year mark, and let's say you have, if you got a 60% winning percentage, of course, that's a keeper. Let's move forward. What if you're between 50 and 30%? What kind of conversation are you going to have with the experienced coach and the novice coach?
Well, you have to remember something. Nobody wants a loser, so you're expecting to turn that program around right away. Mm-hmm. There's no way about it, or they'll find someone else. The good thing about the SWAC is the SWAC likes to give their coaches time. Their coaches have been there 8, 9, 10 years, and let's be honest, they got losing programs, but they're still there. And the schools has a different say so on as long as you do good in the conference, who cares? And we're at a stage in life as to where everybody wants a winner, nobody wants a loser. So pretty soon it's going to come down to how quick is he able to turn that program around. It seems like if you have one good year, you're adding 3 more years to your contract.
Now, is that referring back to a statement you made earlier? You say it's quite honest that majority of these coaches have losing records. Do you think that's because of the lack of commitment towards baseball?
That's exactly what it is. You look at the big. Take LSU for example. LSU has a $4 million budget. The University of Michigan Wolverines, their baseball program has an $8 million budget. You go to UCLA, they have a $6 million budget. HBCUs, they're lucky if they can get $400,000 to $600,000. Right. And then half the time that's being cut. So with that in mind, you take Texas Tech, who's ranked in the top 10 every year. Texas Tech can spend 2 weeks on the road. Their kids are off campus for 2 weeks playing baseball games. They get their studies in because they have study halls, and they have to meet their study hall criteria. But the fact of it is when you have those big budget programs, you can do those things. HBCUs, because the administration does not let the coach do his own thing. A coach should come in and build the program, and he should fundraise for himself, and he should fundraise to advance the program. HBCUs do not allow that, and that's why we're continue to struggle. And if the presidents would ever wake up and realize you're sitting on a gold mine, because HBCU was the pathway to Major League Baseball.
Yes, sir.
Back in the day, when they got players that played in Major League Baseball and made a name for themselves, They came from HBCUs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No doubt about it. And that's why I keep beating the drum, Brother Coker. 10%. 10% commitment toward baseball. I guarantee that you would get a better return on your investment in football if you went 50% football because of the structure and the platform of the divisions. No matter what we do, you can only go so far in football. But you truly have a chance to make it to Omaha if you just make the commitment.
Yes, and and that is a failure at all levels of HBCU, not just the Division One, but the Division Two and the NAIAs. I've seen it happen too many times. As a former player, I have stories where I could tell you how the school cut our budgets, and we were ready to go to games, and then next thing you know, there's a fight going on. When I say a fight, there's a struggle with the coach in the business office because the administration said don't go to those games. I criticized in one of my stories about 3 years ago a baseball program in the SIAC conference in Division Two, and they had a coach, and it seemed like he was scheduled 55 games, and then he would cut the ranked teams. We criticized him for it, and we found out it wasn't him. It was his president. His president would say, okay, give me your schedule. I want to look at your schedule. You're going to cancel that game. You're going to cancel that game. You're going to cancel that game. And next thing you know, he's gone from 55 to 40 games. And those teams that he needs to play, that's going to improve his club, he can't play. And there's a budget cut. And then the coach would say, hey, the guy signs my paycheck. There's nothing I can do. But then when they get up and they play the games and they're losing, then the school is wondering why. It's like, well, when I say that I want to take on the top 2 ranked team in the nation at the start of the season, there's a reason why, because they can help us improve. We can see the areas we need to work on, but the administration does not buy into it. And this has been a problem that dates back to like 30, 40 years. Why the administration is not trying to advance, especially a sport that we played in, blacks excelled in. They recruited from HBCUs. The Negro League recruited from HBCUs. Major League Baseball drafted from HBCUs. And it's a problem with us because we abandoned the sport. We jumped on board with football and basketball and now those glamour sports. But Major League Baseball has the longest longevity, and you make more money playing baseball.
Yes, sir.
So it behooves me on why we've abandoned baseball. And, you keep in mind, Jackson State's head football coach played in Major League Baseball.
Yes, sir. Absolutely did. With the Cincinnati Reds, Atlanta Braves, those are the only 2 I remember right off the top of my head. But it's become truly a needle in the haystack, lost art. And to be quite honest with you, Brother Coker, I don't know if we could ever get back to that point without some major overhauls.
And pressure. You gotta call the presidents out. You gotta call the schools out. I find that the people don't like to be criticized, but when you do criticize them, it takes notice. You look at Alabama State. Alabama State has made a massive difference because they realized what it is they needed to do.
Yes, sir.
And they're the only HBCU program who pays their assistant coaches, and they win every year.
Yes, sir. They've definitely made a commitment to all their sports across the board, but in particular, the baseball, softball, and the Olympic sports. And it shows every year they're in the top billing for the Commissioner's Cup. We are talking with Brother Michael Coker. Brother Coker, if you don't mind, sir, I've got to take a quick break. Can you sit with us through the break and we can continue our conversation, sir?
Sure.
All right, you're listening to the Sunday Night Live edition here on the Mike Prince Show. We got to take a break. We got Brother Michael Coker from college from Black College Nines here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network and the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. We'll take us a break, and we'll be right back. Keep it right where you got it. I promise you, we're not going anywhere.
This is Sergeant Stephen Wirt, and this is Safety Talk. Do you know the top reasons why people cause crashes here in the state of Texas? Number one, failing to control speed. Over 140,000 individuals were the cause of a crash due to driving fast. Number two, driver inattention. Over 86,000 people here in Texas were the cause of a crash because they weren't actually paying attention to the roadway. Number three, changing lanes when unsafe. We had almost 42,000 Texans that did not adhere to changing lanes when it was safe on the roadway. Number four, failing to drive in a single lane. And finally, five, fail to yield the right-of-way at a turn. It's your responsibility to ensure once you're driving on the road that you're paying attention and sharing the road. Drive safely. This is Sergeant Stephen Water with DPS with Safety Talk.
Why should we respect our elders, you may ask? It has been common courtesy for decades to honor and respect those that came before you. These seniors have experienced so much life and endured many challenges that they can be beneficial to generations to come. Younger individuals need to learn the significance of spending time with elders and know ageism is an unfortunate trait to have. Ageism is the inclination to think of older people as debilitated and unworthy of attention. This may be a trait growing in the next group of peers, but knowing the wisdom behind all of these elder stories will help them gain knowledge in the future. It's important not only to be compassionate and polite to your elders, but simply show society that ageism is dead. This message was brought to you by FormontGrandSeniorLiving.com, Lauren Gavin, and Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Let's face it, from time to time, we'll have a need for an attorney, whether it's the case of a DUI, DWI, or any other circumstances that would find you on the other side of the law. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, located at 1047 Austin Street, is the one to call. Attorney Lee Van Richardson and his staff are equipped to help you get through your legal battles. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, 979-826-8008 in Hempstead, Texas. Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H, feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026.
I'm glad.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mike Prince Show Sunday Night Live edition right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We have on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline our special guest from Black College Nines Baseball, Mr. Michael Coker. Now, we've eaten up a lot of time, and I say it's good time. They're talking about SWAC baseball, and I am, of course, a little bit lenient toward the SWAC, but we have another conference that we're going to try to touch bases on. That's the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, commonly known as the MEAC. Be quite honest with you, it's some troubling times in the water right now over in the MEAC, but the games must go on.
You first of all, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore has shut its program down because of COVID, and that's a big damper on for them. When they made some promising strides last year, and then you have North Carolina A&T is leaving the MEAC at the end of this academic year. 21 and 22, they're going to be joining the Big South Conference, the entire athletic department. And then with Bethune and Florida A&M, as everyone knows, is joining the SWAC. So that only leaves Coppin State, Delaware State, Norfolk State, and North Carolina Central. So you're going from a 9 conference down to maybe 5, and there's small talk that a couple of those schools would be leaving as well. But that's if it does happen, it's down the road. So the MEAC it's basically going to be a 5-team conference, and that's going to be troublesome, and it's going to hurt revenue wise.
Well, it will hurt revenue wise, and it would almost put them at jeopardy of their automatic bid, right? Because you have to have a minimum of 6. I know it is the case for football.
Yes, it is, and that's why it's really gonna be tough because like the 2 Florida schools are leaving. North Carolina A&T is gone, and then the University of Maryland Eastern Shore has shut down. So I've heard that they're going to bring one or two maybe of those SIAC schools in. At one point, there were just rumblings of the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference was going to either look at Clark Atlanta, one of those Atlanta schools, to join the MEAC. It's kind of funny because Savannah State just left the MEAC a year ago.
Right.
So you have to figure in on what it is exactly that they're trying to do, and what is it that they're doing, and where is the failure?
Well, I got to ask this question, and I know, and I'm a product of the HBCU. Do you, for the sake of keeping the HBCU factor in play, do not look for other potential fits outside of your DNA, if that makes any sense?
You have to go outside of your DNA. If you're going to make things work, you got to find that element that's going to advance the program, that's going to open up the program for bigger and better things. HBCUs it's a funk that they're in, and that funk has been created years ago, and nobody wants to make the change. And that's why I said earlier in this podcast, and this is the fact, football and band. We have to get away that there are other sports. And you said basketball. That is correct. But we have the women's sports. We have the other sports that need to be paid a special attention to. I mean, if you really want to grow the program, once you start growing the program, then you're going to get those top level kids in who can turn the program around. And, I'm a product of an HBCU. The one great thing I like about the HBCU is it gives you the academics.
Yes.
We have very big success in academics for HBCU, but it's something that doesn't get talked about because we fail at the student athlete level in the competition.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, but the same thing that make you laugh could be the same thing that make you cry, because I agree with you 1,000% about the emphasis on the academia. And some of our esteemed leaders in the roles of presidents in particular, they see athletics as a form of conditioning and competing to a certain level, but not willing to go in full Monty because it's not an academia piece per se. And I think that's part of the internal tug of war that we have. They say, oh, we got X amount of money. And if they're going to pull and cut budgets, they always go toward across the campus side or the athletic side and cut from there in order to sacrifice and stop the hemorrhaging from other areas of campus.
It's like the old Peter Paul.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
That's exactly what it is. And and a lot of times it's a small budget, but it's a big budget when you're cutting baseball, because you're cutting into travel, you're cutting into expenses. You have to have so many baseballs for the season. And when a coach starts struggling and he can't get enough baseballs, there's a problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can only create a bleach water compound to make them as white as possible, as long as possible.
That is so correct. And you're so right on that. And I need to add to that, because you take in a non-HBCU school like Florida State, they have a system as to where they take those balls and clean them.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
they reuse them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So every little trick of the trade to help stretch and alter the lack of the haves and the have-nots. We're talking on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline with Michael Coker of Black College Nines. We talk about the challenges, of course, with the MEAC, and I just got to touch on it just for a word because my ears perked up. Who are the potential whispers of even further splintering the MEAC?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
Okay, who are the other teams that are talking about possibly vacating the MEAC as well?
Just North Carolina. There's a little rumbling going on that Coppin State is one, and North Carolina. I'm sorry, Norfolk State.
Okay.
Those names came up in 2020 as possible defectors. And conferences were looking at them to join their conference as well. North Carolina A&T in the last 5 years is under Coach Hall. Ben Hall has really built that program. I mean, he's upset some nationally ranked teams or come close to. I mean, he got a big boost when they beat North Carolina a couple years ago, South Carolina, and then they almost did it again this year. And they're beating some Power 5 conference. So, but then again, you have to understand North Carolina A&T. They have one of your best HBCU athletic departments.
No doubt about it, and it's consistent from top to bottom. It's not just top-sided in one sport or the other. They've been consistent all the way across the board, and we do understand that in the real world, you have to spend money to make money in whatever it is that you do, and we kind of got that shake them up mentality, roll them out and wherever they land. Yay, if we do good, we'll do better next time to get them wrong. So from my assessment, we are somewhat our own worst enemy. We devalue the things that could literally turn around our situations overnight. And we'll stockpile money to where other people are stockpiling money, but we don't have access to the money to stockpile as the other ones are.
Well, I have a podcast coming out with Roger Cador that's coming out Tuesday. And if you really listen to that, he details. He built his program through fundraising through the community. And he comes out in his podcast and says that he didn't get anything from any of our people, blacks. He said he did it outside of the community, because we couldn't get anything. And he said when what he did get wasn't much to really help boost the program. So that's, it kind of falls in line with why we're still suffering.
Well, as Brother Sam Cooke poetically wrote, that one day a change is going to come. And hopefully I'll be around to see it happen.
You and I together, brother.
Yes, sir. Brother Michael Coker, man, we always get to this point. We're going to have to get you back on and talk some more, but tell people how they can get in contact with you and how they can listen to your latest podcast and the work that you're doing.
Well, you can go to our website at blackcollegenines.com, and you'll see we do everything HBCU baseball. Not just the daily reporting of the events. We do the historical side. We do everything that relates to the history of black college baseball. We preserve the legacy of historically black college and university baseball. You can also reach me through email, michael@blackcollegenines.com, or our Twitter page at HBCU Baseball. Black College Nines, or you can give me a call at 954-687-2095 to discuss baseball, to do anything as long as it's related to HBCU. I love the sport. I love what we're doing. I love the product, and I love the coverage because, as I always tell our coaches, you put the product on the field and we will cover it.
Amen, brother. You got an amen section over here. Look, my friend, it is always a joy, an honor, and an educational time that we get a chance to have you on. And I don't have to tell you, but I'll remind you, You always got a platform here and an open mic at the open mic, and we do look forward to hearing from you real soon, my friend.
Anytime, I'd be more than happy to continue. I like what you're doing. I like your show. I listen to your show. Pretty good stuff, if you ask me.
Well, thank you very much, sir, and I appreciate that. We're just like Avis. We try hard because we have to. We have to. He is Brother Michael Coker from Black College Nines. Great work that he's doing. Very informative, and I consider him an ally. That is going to run us to the end of our episode for tonight. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill, Prairie View Athletic Club. We want to thank Reflections Paint and Auto Shop. We also want to thank Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Diva Skin Conditioner, and Helping Hands Lawn Service. I've got to go, and the Lord says the same, and the creek don't rise. We shall meet again on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I must exit stage left for right now. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Remember to follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.